Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is for you. I hope you're having a good one. It's another beautiful Monday, and it is time to once again hit it from the top. We got news, we got reactions, we got your typical every weekday content ready to fucking go. But we're changing it up a bit this time. Instead of going right into Brussels brand, I've decided that podcast is feeling a little slow. No, no shade towards Russell or anything, but it just ain't quite enough by itself. We need a little more. So we're gonna shorten our watch time with him by doing much more fast forwarding and skipping through. And also, instead of going straight into it, we're going to talk about some other news. I've lined up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of relevant topics that we can go over. And, well, let's pretty much just dive right into it, shall we? I'm ready to go. I'm excited for this day today, boys. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. All right. If we're going to do this, I've got to make some room on the screen. It's my biggest head. He's taking up a lot of real estate right now. So let's just shrink him on down. It's mini me. With me nicely out of the way. We can bring up the window. Oh, we gotta scroll down. We're gonna start from the bottom, work our way up. I've bookmarked a bunch of tweets, so I have some visual reference for topics I want to talk about. Found a relevant tweet for most of the topics I want to discuss, and that should make things a little more interesting, a little more visually appealing, and it'll just help me stay on track. So, first things first, we got the development of Dark Brandon, which I think isn't the first time he's tried to rebrand this way, but it is the loudest attempt made so far for sure. Joe Biden, in response to all the "Let's Go Brandon" memes, aka "Fuck Joe Biden," threw on a pair of shades and called himself Dark Brandon, or declared that he had an alter ego named Dark Brandon, and said something along the lines as, he was going to take criticisms and jokes about him in good stride, but he couldn't say as much for Dark Brandon, which honestly is very cringe, extremely cringe for a fucking, I don't know, 70-something-year-old man. I mean, let's. I think he's like a late 70s. Let's look it up. I never can quite remember just exactly how old this man is. Oh, he's 80. He turned 80 last November. So yeah, kind of cringe for an 80-year-old man to be saying, to be honest. You would think one of the few things he'd have going for him with that level of advanced age would be an air of dignity, but not so much. Not so much. So, well, let's check out this lack of dignity, because I found this video is a great example of his lack of decorum. We full screen this boy. Alright, listen to this, man. This is just wild to me. Oh, wait. I apologize. my audio is not set up correctly. Now it should be working fine. I just do that, and then, yeah.
Well, the truth is, we really have a record to be proud of. Vaccinated the nation, transformed the economy, earned historic legislative victories and midterm results, but the job isn't finished. I mean...
Go up the volume a little more.
It is finished for Tucker Carlson. What are you wooing about like that? Like you think that's not reasonable? Give me a break. Just give me a break. Look, like I often say, well, the truth is, we really have a record to be proud of.
We'll let one more time.
Vaccinated the nation, transformed the economy.
I can't believe the audacity this man has to talk about the economy right now. Like he didn't fuck the economy up, bro. The economy's in shambles. We have a fucking cost of living crisis happening right now. And he's like, we transformed it. Yeah. Into a fucking wasteland for the average man. Thanks, guy. Just incredible level of audacity, bro. I cannot fathom the sheer self-ignorance or just plain balls this man must have to fucking say such a thing.
Earned historic legislative victories and midterm results, but the job isn't finished. I mean, it is finished for Tucker Carlson. What are you wooing about like that? Like you think that's not reasonable? Give me a break. Just give me a break. Look.
Jesus, man. No class, bro. No class. Tucker Carlson left Fox News. I still haven't heard a fucking clear statement whether or not he left or was fired. But either way, even if he was fired, man, had quite the career. He left rather gracefully. He didn't badmouth Fox, nor did he name call out anybody. No, he just continued to utilize what platform was available to him to preach the truth that he believed in, and went on about his business. Whereas this man lies and then makes a passing joke about somebody's career hitting a speed bump of sorts and saying, you know, he's done. It's just childish. But I mean, that's, you know, shouldn't really be a surprise given the way that political campaigns are run these days. You know, presidents spend majority of their time rather than actually making a detailed case about what they're going to do for the American people. They spend a much larger portion of their time just bad-mouthing their opponent during presidential campaigns. So it's not like there's a lot of maturity built into the fucking process from the beginning anyway. But still, it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. But that's all I got to say on that one. Joe Biden's a clown, bro. Straight up clown. On to the next thing. So, a man that goes by the handle Donut Operator on Twitter said, put out a tweet saying, I love them both. With a picture of his gun, of his son shooting a gun. I'm not kind of sure what type of rifle that is. It's cool looking though. I don't like the idea of the magazine well being behind the handle, the grip, the pistol grip there. But to each their own, I suppose. I'd be interested to see what caliber that is. Anyway, just sharing some family fun, teaching his kid how to shoot. Saying apparently he's a gun lover, which you can have a pretty fun hobby. Make a pretty fun hobby out of shooting guns, especially if you're a hunter. But even if you're not a hunter, you can just shoot stuff from a distance. Find new challenging shots to make. Have quite a bit of fun. I visited the range a few times myself. But pretty wholesome overall. And a bunch of people apparently in response said that they hope he and his family get shot. The level of hatred and venom coming out of people whose entire reason for hating guns is because supposedly that they cause gun violence. They abhor the loss of life associated with guns. And then you wish loss of life on not only this man who likes guns, but also his young child and the rest of his family. That's sickening. And it goes to show you that these people that are morally grandstanding are doing just that. It's nothing but moral grandstanding. These people aren't actually interested in saving human lives. They're interested in espousing the rhetoric of their chosen ideology and holding moral superiority over anybody that opposes them. I actually have a friend who sent me something very recently that I think applies here very nicely. I'm going to play for you guys. Let's see where I put this. This is quite good. This is called The Genius of the Crowd by Bukowski. Oh no. I'm not sure who it is by Bukowski. Let me double check. See if my man's mentioned this. Anyway, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm not that concerned with credit for an old poem. But I would like y'all to listen to the poem, because it is short, just a minute and a half long, and it really hits the nail on the head here when it comes to talking about what kind of people these guys really are.
The genius of the crowd. There is enough treachery, hatred, violence, absurdity in the average human being to supply any given army on any given day. And the best at murder are those who preach against it. And the best at hate are those who preach love. And the best at war, finally, are those who preach peace. Beware the average man, the average woman. Beware their love. Their love is average, seeks average. But there is genius in their hatred. There's enough genius in their hatred to kill you, to kill anybody. Not wanting solitude, not understanding solitude, they will attempt to destroy anything that differs from their own. Not being able to create art, they will not understand art. They will consider their failure as creators only as a failure of the world. Not being able to love fully, they will believe your love incomplete. And then they will hate you.
And then they will hate you.
And their hatred will be perfect, like a shining diamond, like a knife, like a mountain, like a tiger, like hemlock, their
poisonous.
finest art.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. It is the truth of these people. All they have to themselves is their hate. There's little else of real depth to these people that spew this kind of nonsense. Their hate runs deep, and that is it. All else is shallow veneer. And they're the worst kind of people, regardless of what side of the aisle they stand on. Because whether you lean left, or you lean right, or you're even standing somewhere in the middle, these type of people exist on all sides. And they're horrendous people, through and through, wherever you find them. Avoid them at all costs if you can. It's freaking tragic. Freaking tragic. Humans can be so inspiring, and yet, in examples like this, they can be so disheartening. But that's enough about that. Moving on. What do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about this? This is a post in a Dunkin' Donuts office room where people probably, maybe even like a locker room. I don't know if Dunkin' Donuts has a locker room, but anywhere in the back of a Dunkin' Donuts, where employees come to clock in, it says, clock in after you have your uniform on, with an exclamation mark. So it's more like clock in after you have your uniform on. Make sure you clock out before you get ready to leave. Every second counts. No leeway given. You should be working every second that you're there. Anything that has to do with your job, that isn't you actually doing your job, is your responsibility off the clock, not on the clock. Some people think that makes sense. Some people think that you shouldn't do either thing. Some people think you should do one of the things. Opinions vary. I'm going to tell you mine, though. To me, it makes sense. You get dressed before you go to work. Clocking in and then changing clothes. It's a bit weird to me. The fact that you have to clock out the moment you walk away from your register or your grill or whatever it is that you operate before you do anything to get ready to leave seems rather ridiculous to me. Seems rather ridiculous. I should clock out right before I leave the fucking building. You know, unless I'm going to stand around and, you know, have some long discussion with my fucking coworkers, which I don't think you really should do. Keep it moving. Maybe I'm gonna eat some food from the workplace, you know, order some food. Okay, you know. Things like this, obviously you clock out before doing. But the moment I walk away from my station should not be the moment I clock out. I think I need to rush right to clock out. I think I should be able to do what I gotta do to prepare to leave, clock out, and then leave. And that to me speaks of fairness, because there's a give and take. I'm giving you some of my time before work, and you're giving me some of your time after work. Fair. But, oh, that was a notification. What did we get? Oh, thanks for the follow. Blah, blah, blah. Words. my Yama, if I said that right. Welcome. Anyway, like I said, that's a fair way to do it. It's a little give and take on both ends. Somebody who posted this said, and their response to it was, clock in before you start your commute, clock out when you have gotten home. Every second counts. Which is a funny retaliation. And I definitely feel where they're coming from. If you're going to be that much of a prick and demand everything out of me, I should demand everything back from you in return. Especially since we know in this corporate environment, these jobs don't care about you as a person. They don't give a fuck. They were easily replaced, and they are quick to do so the moment they need to. And they're quick to remind you too that you're easily replaced. It's not a healthy relationship that most people have with their workplace, at least in my experience. So yeah, try to keep things fair, keep it pushing. Pretty much my take. Next up, not all heroes wear capes. This one says, screwdriver, $5. Safety hat and high vest, $30. Pretending to be a CCTV repairman to destroy cameras in 15-minute cities, priceless. Indeed, I agree. This surveillance state thing that's happening, where they're trying to freaking make it to where you can't live anywhere, you can't exist anywhere in a public space within a highly industrialized area without being constantly surveilled, it's getting ridiculous. Combine that with some of the incidents that we've had with technology recently. There was a story not so long ago about a woman who found that her Amazon, she had like a, what do you call them? Alexa. She had an Alexa. She had like a bunch of the little Alexa pucks all about our house. So pretty much in every room. And her and her family used them to do everything from like turn on and off her lights, changing the temperature in the house, playing music, turn on the TV, everything. They were wired in. Until one day her Alexa sent a voice recording of a conversation that her and her husband had to a friend on her contacts. Her friend called up and said, "You need to unplug your device now. I just got a recording from y'all's conversation." And as soon as he said that, she was just flabbergasted. She was like, had this moment of denial. I was like, "Nuh-uh." And then he was like, you guys were talking about this and that. It's something to do, the conversation had something to do with them talking about furniture or something. Not important. Point being, he explained verbatim what they were talking about, and she was like, "Oh my God. This actually happened." And then she went and unplugged all of her devices. But I'm sure that what happened there was a routine procedure performed by Alexas happened to malfunction, and the data, the voice recording, was sent to the wrong person. I think the voice recordings themselves are routine behavior for an Alexa. The sending to a contact rather than to an Amazon server was the mess up. But whether you subscribe to that or not, you gotta wonder, even if that was entirely a mistake, how many mistakes are these kind of devices making? And what ability do you have to hold the company that makes them accountable for this? Probably you'll find very little ability to do so. So we know from the Snowden leaks forever ago, the government, 3 letter agencies, CIA, FBI, whatnot, have access to tap all the phones of every cell phone user in America They have deals with AT&T and the like. Can do this. We're seeing evidence. The information collection is being done broad scale by Google and Amazon and Facebook in many different ways, including devices in our home. We had the whole scare with the Ring doorbell not so long ago, where they were watching activity at your front door, and they used that footage to report somebody to the police. Police use that in evidence as evidence in court. This surveillance state is getting crazy. It really is. And some people are fighting back by disabling CCTV cameras. Around the world, this is happening. And I'm all for it. One second. Oh, I got a reminder about some news we're going to talk about in a little bit. But we're not there yet. Anyway, so yeah, activists fighting back against all the surveillance by taking out CCTV cameras. I support it. Some people think that this is dangerous. Some people think it's better that there's cameras everywhere, so criminals can be caught more easily. But this famous quote goes, if you are willing to trade your freedom for the feeling of security, you deserve neither and will receive neither. And I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. The downsides heavily outweigh the upsides when it comes to exposing yourself to a surveillance state. All right, next up, we're going to get into some VTuber stuff here shortly. But first, I got to talk about this thing with Jordan Peterson, who apparently has made it clear that he is a Trailer Park Boys fan, and I guess recently watched season 6. As he made a tweet saying that season 6 episode 4, titled "Where the Fuck is Oscar Goldman?" is some of the funniest 30 minutes of television ever aired. He called it Canadian content. Iconic Canadian content. And then gave a trigger warning. I don't have a lot to say about this. I just think it's funny that this elderly individual. Let's see how we looked up Joe Biden's age. Let's look up Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson. He is 60. 20 years younger than Joe Biden. But still definitely an old man. This 60-year-old man is a fan of the Trailer Park Boys. But unlike what we were talking about with Joe Biden, I don't think this necessarily makes him particularly immature. I actually think it makes him a little more down to earth. A little more down to earth. Which maybe some people feel that way about Joe Biden's behavior, but in the Joe Biden case, I would say he's lacking clear social decorum, or there is no social decorum element to this situation. This is just an enjoyment of a somewhat immature television show. But you don't need a lot of maturity to be funny. You're never too old to laugh, so that gets definitely pretty different. Humanizes the man. I liked it. Little anecdote there. All right. Now, let's talk VTuber stuff. So, Neaners, yeah. She recently announced that she is leaving Shoujo. She says, after much consideration, I've decided not to renew my contract with Shoujo and return to being an indie streamer. I would like it if she had put the word streamer after indie. Just an indie sounds weird to me. But anyway, this decision is my own and not a reflection of my relationship with any of the other members, and it is something I have been seriously deliberating for a while. I'm deeply appreciative of all the opportunities that being a member of Shoujo has presented over the past 2 years, and wish everyone, staff, and fellow talent alike, all the best. While this change likely comes as a surprise, it won't change who I am, any of my content, or who I choose to collaborate with moving forward. My streams will continue as usual. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future will bring in this new chapter. Thank you all for your support and understanding, Nanners. So this is interesting for multiple reasons. One, this is the third creator that Shoujo has lost in recent history, very recent history, and probably the biggest one. The other two being Silvervale and Vebe. In my understanding, I think, not that I'm talking necessarily about stream numbers, I think that's the most important thing anyway, but like in terms of exposure, like how much they get talked about in the VTuber community, I think Silvervale is probably the smallest of that group. Then it would be Vebe, and then Nanners. Nanners is very popular though. You know, we don't know much about Shoujo, and you're just kind of a really casual VTuber fan, you probably know who Nanners is. You might not know the other two. But this big freaking right hook coming on the back end of those two strong left jabs is making Shoujo look beat up. Somebody made a joke recently saying Iron Master's back is gonna hurt having to do all the carrying of Shoujo. She's like the only one left, which is definitely an overstatement. Project Melody is still with Shoujo. Zentreya is still with Shoujo. And they've got other talents. I can't think of everybody right off the top of my head now. But Shoujo definitely still has good creators with them. But it is absolutely crazy to see them bleeding creators out so rapidly right now. That makes you wonder if somebody is coming by and scooping up these guys or not, because we haven't heard like if they're going to be with anybody else. Nanners basically pretty much said, you know, I'm going to be indie. I'm going to be by myself. I'm not going to another agency. I don't think Silvervale or Vebe necessarily said anything about whether or not they were going with a new group yet. So we might hear some news about that soon. I'd be interested to find out. Maybe they were all offered something, and Nanners was like, well, now that you mention it, I think I can actually do best by myself, and the other two maybe had similar conclusions, or maybe did decide to go with this new group, or maybe there's no new group, and the new contracts that Shoujo is offering, because you know they all came on their re-sign period. So maybe the new contracts that Shoujo offered to these creators just wasn't very good. Maybe it was just the same thing. Maybe it was even worse than what they had before. I doubt it was worse, but maybe it was the same exact thing, and all these creators think, you know, they've grown and deserve better. It's kind of hard to say. Maybe these guys didn't really intend to stay with Shoujo for very long anyway. They just kind of use them as a springboard, which is perfectly fair. There's a length on the contract for a reason. You stay with them for that set period of time, do what you gotta do. They get their fair part out of it. The creator gets their fair part out of it. You know, nothing but fair dealings there. But yeah, I'd just love to know what the details were. I'd really like to know what the contract offered, regardless of anything else. I'd really like to know what the contract offered to these guys were, because I feel like there's at least some strong hints in the reasoning why this all happened, and that information, if we could receive. I don't think anybody's gonna be linking that information though, unfortunately. So we'll probably just be left in the dark to pontificate on our own, unfortunately. But hey, the mystery mix is kind of fun too. So I ain't mad at it. That being said, I don't know how many more creators of these shows you can afford to lose. I mean, they're definitely surviving just fine right now. The blows hurt, but they're gonna be alright. But shit, they lose another 2 big ones? Ooh. That might be all they wrote for Shoujo. Didn't Onigiri recently join V Shoujo too, though? Let me look at that. Onigiri. V Shoujo. I guess not. Maybe I'm just tripping. Let's see, V Shoujo creators. Let's get a list. How about that? Members. Alright. So we've got Sintraya, Iron Mouse, Project Melody, Fruit, Hime Hajime. I don't know how active Hime is. I feel like I don't hear a lot out of her. And she streams under an IRL persona, I think, far more than she does under Hime. We got Kason. Kason's very active. Nazuna, which I don't know that well. Nazuna is a VTuber I'm very unfamiliar with, to be honest. And then we got Haruka Karibu. So I mean that means like they have 8 members remaining after losing 3. What percent is that? So 3 out of 11. That's 27%. They lost more than a quarter. More than a quarter of their talent gone. Just like that. Crazy. Yeah, that's gonna do some real damage. Now, if they were to lose like Zayon, if they lose like Zentreya and Kason, or even like Kason and Haruka, like they'd be in some hot water. They'd be in some real hot water. They lost Iron Mouse by herself. That would be devastating to them. I don't think Iron Mouse is going anywhere though. I don't think Iron Mouse is going anywhere. I don't think Zentreya is going anywhere. I don't think Project Melody is going anywhere. I think those 3 are locked in. Kason is a relatively new join, and so she's got a wildfire contract up, so she's gonna be around. Maybe we get a surprise out of left field from Zentreya and she leaves, but I doubt it. Nazuna and Haruka are the only ones I think could possibly leave. But we have no reason to believe that's going to happen. So I think VJojo will stabilize after this, and it'll be okay for them. It's interesting to see, though. I'll definitely be paying close attention in the coming weeks to see what else happens with VJojo. I really would like them not to collapse or anything like that, because we need a diverse groups, diversity amongst the groups. You know, Hololive can't just run everything. All right, they're already a big freaking monster. Right now, like pretty much the only big groups there are is Hololive, Niji Sanji, and Bishoujo. You'd be left with two big groups if we lost to Bishoujo. And that's starting to sound too much like a monopoly. And we all know monopolies are bad. They're bad. We don't want that. Okay. Okay. Moving on. Next up, we come back to a very serious topic. One, I think, at least has the silver lining of a recent W for sanity as this evolving paradigm with drag queens doing story time with children, which I think is appalling. Because on its face is not a bad concept entirely. Okay. A dude dressed like a chick reading a child's story to children. Not a big deal in my opinion. Not a big deal. A dude dressed like a drag queen in the way that they are very usually dressed very provocatively. Spending time with children. Not so great. And they spend any time teaching children about drag queen culture. Ooh, definitely seems bad. And teaching children how to dance provocatively. Oh my god, what the hell are we doing? And then you take it to the level of actually doing strip shows with, not only in front of, but even with children. Having them dance on stage in front of men. Absolutely atrocious behavior. But, like I said, the silver lining here is that a drag queen, age 31, just given 11 child sexual abuse charges and sentenced to a year in jail for grooming an 11-year-old boy to become a drag queen, acting as his drag mom and teaching him how to perform. Somebody has said they've had enough of this shit and has put their foot down. And that somebody lives in Oregon. It's the good old state of Oregon, which we never hear anything about. At least I don't. The boy performed at a drag story hour brunch along with the child sex offender 2 months before the arrest. The bar in Eugene, Oregon even bragged that the drag queen is here to show you what an 11-year-old drag queen can do. All those charges are, by the way, child sexual abuse. Those are felony offenses. And this drag queen is now a felon, and they deserve the title. This is a picture of said individual. And this is the child in question. Now, we don't have a lot of extra details on this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is much more tame than any of the other stories we've seen in videos that we've seen. And maybe this child was not dressed very provocatively, nor were they doing a provocative dance. Maybe they just strutted up and down a runway, you know. It's still an objectification of a child, so don't like it. But arguably, maybe not worth a felony charge, much less 11 of them. But I doubt that was the case. Like I said, we've seen how a lot of these have gone. There was a boy, a 13-year-old boy, groomed very recently that was actually in a strip club dancing for adult men, dressed very provocatively. Very upsetting. The fact that this is allowed to happen right now is insane. Just 5 years ago, but for sure 10 years ago, this would have been unimaginable. Like, no one would have let this slide. You can't be sexualizing children. And yet, here we are. Racism is okay if it's against white people. Sex doesn't exist. It's quote unquote scientifically proven that sex doesn't exist and it's just a construct. Even though we can see the differences, they're biological in nature and very freaking obviously present. Words have a little meaning. We're just backtracking on so much stuff right now. It's absolutely crazy. I'm really, really sad to see this kind of shit going on. I'm hoping that sanity continues to catch some more W's here in the near future. Because, Jesus, we need it. We need a strong, swift return to sanity. Because we're losing it right now as a freaking global populace. It's not even an America thing right now. It's just happened all over the globe. And I've got some theories about why and how this has happened. I'm not quite ready to go into that yet. As I've said before, I will say again too. I have no problem. You want to be gay, bi, whatever two consenting adults want to do, I'm fine with. In the privacy of their own home. And you can be gay in public. Just don't be doing sexual shit in public, gay or not. I don't want to see people walking around on leashes and tight-fitting fucking spandex with their nipples popping out in fucking public. You know, this is not the kind of shit I want to see. I don't want to see somebody walking around raving a fucking dildo. I want to see this shit. Not just that I don't want to see it. I don't think that it's appropriate public behavior, given that children exist in public. What kind of programming are you putting on the kids when you do that kind of thing? I don't care if you want to expand, your ideas of yourself outside of social norms. You want to be a dude, wear a dress, fine. You want to be a chick dressed as a dude, fine. You want to get cosmetic surgery as an adult, fine. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But keep private things in private. And leave children alone. And words have meaning. These are the only points I fucking have a problem with. Everything else, I don't give a shit. If you're not hurting anybody, do whatever you want to do. I do not care. You can't compel speech. Words have meaning. Private things belong in private. And leave children the fuck alone. Definitely don't try to insert yourself between a parent and a child unless we're talking about some extreme case of abuse on the part of the parent. That's the other thing that we heard a story about recently is that there's some public policy changing in a school in the United States. Can't remember exactly where at, where they said they're going to backpedal on some of the bullshit changes where, like, they made it a mandatory for a teacher to inform a parent if their child was expressing interest in gender transitioning. Parents should be kept in a loop. I think that's duh. And they banned things like drag queens from schools. Drag shows cannot be done in schools. Sexual books don't belong in elementary schools. They made what should be some common sense stance, but is an outlier stance for our school system to make in the current age, apparently. But that was another W for sanity. So not everybody's rolling over to this shit. People are, in fact, fighting back. Thankfully. Thankfully. And with that said, we've come to the end of my Twitter list. Now let's see if we managed to cover everything that I wanted to talk about. We hit the cameras. We hit Dark Brandon. We talked about the topic we just got finished talking about. We did the VTuber news. Jordan Peterson anecdote. Oh yeah, we talked about workplace policy. Oh, last little thing, really quick. Not going to spend much time on this. Wanted to touch one. Oh, this anti-feminism thing going on. Listen, modern day feminism is atrocious. It's gone from supporting females to hating men, and that's just dumb. Anything based off hate is stupid. That being said, there's this anti-feminist fucking movement that's happening now. That's saying a lot of anti-female rhetoric, especially within the red pill community. It's also equally stupid. This is what you call an overreaction to an overreaction. Can we all just be sensible, kind, and loving people and admit that, hey, everybody's deserving of love, everybody's deserving of freedom, everybody's deserving of basic human rights, and we all have value, or at least have the potential to provide value to others, and just leave it at that. Can we do that? Can we agree to do that? That'd be great if we could. This overreacting to overreactions thing is getting out of hand. You see it all over the place. Female's bad, male's bad. Back and forth, back and forth. How about nobody's bad? Except individual bad people. How about that? But that's just my 2 cents. And with that being said, we've hit the end. My personal little news segment. And now, it's time to jump into the Russell Brand podcast. Stay free with Russell Brand. Because this man does bring us good information on global news. And we need to hear about it.
Things to do. Welcome to Stay Free with Russell Brand. It's
Thanks, Russell.
Another week. We've got a lot of things to discuss with you over the course.
He is dressed much more casually, more normally. Not necessarily more casually, but more standard attire than we normally see him wear.
The show, there will be great vicissitudes and undulations in energy. At some points, I'm going to seem incredibly calm and focused and mature. At others, erratic,
Yeah.
fast, fizzing, effervescent. I'm starting off quite mature, Gal.
No, this is a nice, relaxed tone.
This is our
Very
gentle.
in control, I would say.
Thank you very
But
much.
calm.
Very easy entry into the week's news. We're going to look at some hypocrisy, in particular the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party when it comes to claims around rigged elections. If you're watching this on YouTube now, by the way, after about 10-15 minutes, we will disappear into the annals, I said annals, of Rumble, where we can speak more freely. We're not there to discuss conspiracy theories, well, a little bit, and we're certainly not there to do anything other than bring people together and to speak freely against the establishment. We've got such an exciting week this week. We're going to be learning more about Robert F. Kennedy and why the mainstream media en masse are attacking him as an anti-vaxxer. You're going to love it. We've got a great guest on, Ryan Grimm. He's going to be telling us about... Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which Ryan Grimm, who has the nerve to call himself a journalist, was chucked out of last year for brawling. And I think one man said the back of his hand was scratched. Another fella said he received, and this is a direct quote, a Chinese burn. And I'm not even sure that you can say that anymore.
I don't think so.
It's probably not the sort of thing that people should say. We're going to start, though, by looking at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Why I like the White House Correspondents' Dinner is because it's a living embodiment of the corruption and collusion that exists between the state and the mainstream media. Joe Biden, your president, had the out-and-out nerve to quote...
By the way, for anybody who didn't know, such as myself, I'll just look this up. Apparently, a Chinese burn is when you grab somebody's forearm, their singular forearm, in your two hands, both your hands, and you twist, you grab it real tight, and you twist your hands in opposite directions, causing the skin to twist, and the friction of your hands rotating around basically rubs the skin raw, and it's supposed to leave some little bit of lasting damage, and they call that damage a Chinese burn. Weird stuff. Never heard of this before. Until literally right now.
Jefferson and Jefferson's views on the media. This is absolutely fantastic. Watch this. If you're not watching us on Locals, by the way, join us on Locals because we do extra content on here and we can see your questions. Blessed Old Bird, for example, saying rug burn or American burn. Yeah, that's right. Suggestions, script alts, actually, is what's coming through there now. But let's look at Joe Biden. Do you think Joe Biden's even got the right to cite Jefferson, one of the founding fathers?
We interact with our audience, Ross. There you go.
Yes,
Don't
right.
get that at the White House Correspondents'
White House
Dinner.
Correspondents, what they do is they just bleach out your consciousness. We're listening to you. What do you think, guys? We care about you. We love you. Not like old Fox News, you express an opinion, you're out the door. Not like MSNBC, where they're just trying to turn you into a drone and not an NPC without a view to see, not a chance to be free. Have a look at this, where Joe Biden has the audacity to cite Jefferson. Look at it.
Serious note. Jill, Kamala, Doug, and I, members of our administration, are here to send a message to the country and, quite frankly, to the world.
To the world!
I'm not pausing. I'm just showing you that this don't work no more.
The free press is a pillar, maybe the pillar, of free society, not the enemy.
I'm sorry, I was not paying attention. What the fuck did he pull out? Saying that he doesn't work anymore?
Free society.
Oh, no.
Pausing. I'm just showing you that this don't work no more.
The free press is a pillar, maybe the pillar, of free society, not the enemy. Thomas Jefferson wrote...
Of course they're cheering that because they are the press. You know, they've just had like 4 years of Trump saying, you know, fake news, fake news. They're essentially applauding themselves. I put it to you, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, where we'll do the whole show unexpurgated, that this is a sort of an onanistic circle jerk, a media masturbation.
So it is a bit of a media masturbation, but I'm going to call BS there, Russell, because the whole thing will not be on Rumble, because lately you have not been starting the Rumble stream in the same time that you start the YouTube stream anymore. I'm on YouTube right now because of that very fact. If you want to watch the beginning of the podcast, you cannot watch exclusively on Rumble. You have to catch the beginning on YouTube and then watch the rest on Rumble. I'm not sure if this is a purposeful move or some kind of technical fuck up on your end. But to be clear, you cannot get the full thing on Rumble.
Celebratory circle of self-congratulation where everyone is drenched not in news but in ugly sputum.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Sputum.
Wondered where you were going there.
I was always, as I often am, heading towards
Sputum.
Just the word sputum. The word sputum is never far from my lips. No, that's the word sputum.
I know.
It's simply a linguistic sign. So like you can't say that, like, but this isn't even the best bit of the clip. This isn't even the best bit. Like, this isn't like, by the way, other things we could be talking about, oil. Don't worry about the.
Surprise.
Who would have imagined that? U.S. corporations cash in on you, but don't worry about the free press that's holding power to account. To complete Jefferson's quote before dear old Doddery Joe does. Let's see the rest of Joe.
You all know this quote. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We're left to me to decide whether we should have a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government. I should not hesitate to prefer the latter."
Right, so
Absolutely.
he's saying
Hell yeah,
that
brother.
a free media is
Hell
more
yeah.
important than the government. How many of you agree?
And yet there's not a fucking free media right now. The media are stooges of the government. So yet again, you're saying one thing as your actions show another. But damn, do I agree with what you're saying? I don't believe in you and that you will act in accordance with what you're saying. But damn it, do I like what you're saying?
With that, but how many of you think that we have a free media? Right now, there are stories that we can't discuss on YouTube, which is a media platform that's regulated in a variety of ways. When we come off, we're going to be talking about an Epstein story that's going to, I'm not going to use my usual metaphor, like knock your knickers down, because it doesn't seem appropriate with regard to that particular story, but we're going to be talking about Epstein's calendar. And it's not a calendar where Epstein's posing, like February is a fireman with a kitten, March he's got a little apron on and he's whipping up a cake with a bit of batter up his face, all batter spattered up his noggin.
You've done the fireman, have you already? Fireman.
Yeah, I started with fireman.
Yeah, good.
Now I'm going through the film Calendar Girls with my head.
Yeah.
Like that. And then maybe a football calendar's probably next in my mind. I said, well, since I've had a calendar. But like apparently Epstein had meetings in with some people that are quite surprising. And we'd like, we don't know if those meetings took place, and we certainly can't discuss it on YouTube.
No.
We can't discuss Epstein's calendar on YouTube. Can we?
You can barely say his name on YouTube, to be honest.
What if it was the one
Gotta
that's the
be real
Beatles
careful.
manager?
You gotta be real careful.
Was it that one?
It's not that one. He was a lovely man.
Right.
Can we move on?
I can't even finish it. You know what I mean. But have a look at this. Have a look at this bit. And look at the question. In your mind, prepare right now.
Evan and Austin should be...
Whoa. Journalism is not a crime. Guess what this is the anniversary of? Julian Assange, journalist, is still in Belmarsh, sentenced to 50 weeks by a British court on May the 1st, 2019. Wait a minute. What's the date now? Is this 2023? That's more than 50 weeks.
Yeah. No, right, I see what you mean.
50
yeah,
weeks.
well, he's waiting potential extradition, isn't he, for trial in the
50
US.
weeks
So
is
it's
basically a
50
year.
weeks.
We're 2 weeks shy of a year, so you basically got a year sentence. And it's been 4 years. We're talking about his four-year anniversary right now of detainment. Funny how that works.
He's still banged up in there. Journalism is not a crime, says Biden. Journalism is not a crime. Listen to the end of it.
Released immediately, along with every other American held hostage or wrongfully detained abroad.
Because he's got excited there. I know that his scrotum tightened during that bit. I can tell from his face that he sort of went, hey, I'm immediately like that. He's sort of his snout. He's pushing the snout forward. He's going up into the palace. Every journalist abroad. Like, what about dear old Edward Snowden? What about Julian Assange? What about Chelsea Manning? Now, I know Chelsea Manning isn't a journalist. Edward Snowden's not a journalist. They're both whistleblowers. But Julian Assange is a journalist. The hypocrisy is outlandish and outrageous. Do we care about the cheat sheet thing? You know about that by now, right? You've all seen that.
Yeah, everyone's seen that.
You've seen that. We don't need to see that anymore. Do you know what the White House dinner, the point of the White House dinner is?
Well, it's about freedom of speech, essentially. It's about the relationship with government and the press, and or so-called freedom of speech. But on whose terms is this freedom of speech, Russ?
Because if that freedom of speech was the type to which Jefferson was referring, Assange would be out. That's what he's referring. He's talking about the type of journalists that want to challenge power, not the type of journalists that essentially promulgate and propagate the messages of the state, who themselves, in my view, are just the managerial class of a globalist corporate cartel.
Yeah.
That's not what Jefferson
globalist
wanted, is
corporate
it?
So he said
cartel is
journalism is not a crime. What about
a globalist corporate cartel is a great alliteration of words to describe exactly what they are.
publishing? So, but publishing is a crime then. If you're Julian Assange, publishing is a crime.
You mustn't publish.
No.
And Jefferson
You
was
can
clear
journal.
about that. Journal?
Yeah.
That's fine. What are you doing? Journaling? What are you going to do after that? Nothing. After that,
Yeah.
don't you publish, you son of a gun. We'll have you. The White House Correspondents' Dinner, because we wondered what it was. I was confused. It's an event held by the White House Correspondents Association to celebrate journalism and freedom of speech. The event gathers journalists, politicians, and celebrities to put their differences aside while raising money for journalism scholars. Why don't you just go to Bill Gates and get your journalism scholarship from him and do your reporting in alignment with his views? You can't have real journalism. Because
Jesus
real
Christ.
journalism, I feel like, is Barry Weiss, who's coming on the show later this week. Matt Taibbi, been on the show, coming on the show again. Schellenberger. And might I even venture, little old us,
I think so.
trying our best to keep you informed about stories that we believe matter, like the candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy, who, indeed, if you notice, the two emergent smears of our time are you're right wing, or you're far right wing, or you're an anti-vaxxer. Two terms that have almost had to be created to smear people. Now, RFK, because he is running for the leadership of the Democrat Party, or the presidential candidacy for the Democrat Party, I don't think they can use far right without making the whole Democrat Party sound bad, can they?
No, probably
They're going to
not.
have to go anti-vaxxer. And by God, have they?
Good job they've got that, though, isn't it?
Got anti-vaxxer, though. We've got something. You
I
know?
raise you.
We're not going to be able to do far right, but what about that? What's your attitude towards vaccines? Well, under certain conditions, I would take them. Under certain other conditions, I would. Whoa there! No, you don't on Alphabet. No, you don't on Google. No, you don't on YouTube. That's why you have to join us on Rumble when we were talking not only about issues like that, but also Epstein's calendar girls. Not necessarily calendar girls. There's a variety of genders.
It was. Mainly very important men.
Oh, what the hell's drawing all these important men? Taiwan now has real-time intelligence sharing links with Five Eyes. So that means Five Eyes, which are the Anglophonic countries and their various secret service agencies that I believe were part of the exposures of Snowden, actually.
Yeah.
And like we learned about the extent of because America ain't meant to spy on Americans.
Right.
Britain ain't meant to spy on British. Australia ain't meant to spy on Australians. Yeah, but what if we spy on yours? Yeah, keep talking. And we were to spy on yours? Oh, I like your style. That's fantastic. So it's like this, I will call it deep state wife swap. It's deep state wife swap.
Yeah.
You do mine, I do yours. Isn't it? Isn't it though?
That's exactly it.
That's why Epstein's always involved, because there's always saucy swinging. Saucy swinging in the deep state, baby. I spy with my little eye, says the unicorn.
Yeah, there's a little bit of metaphorical swinging, and then there's some literal swinging. You know, gotta hit the ball for both sides. You know.
Plug, and I'm not even going to ask what that name's supposed to mean. I daren't.
You mustn't.
Not on YouTube. Go on, Gal, I can see you're chomping at the winkle to make a point.
Well, yeah, obviously, we're talking about the hypocrisies of that, White House correspondence.
It is hypocritical.
So obviously, all the things we've spoken about this loads of times, but when they're talking about freedom of speech, freedom of the press, we've had the Twitter file revelations recently. We know about that. Even when the press do get it right, as with Hunter Biden laptop story, and that was when that was actually censored by the government. So that's even when the press are doing their jobs and reporting something that's true, that then gets censored. You've got the warrantless surveillance that we're talking about, which Five Eyes actually fits into. protest laws, which are on the rise massively in the United States. So when it's all talking about freedom of speech, it's whose freedom of speech is this? It's certainly not the public's freedom of speech. When they want to protest against things, they're going to get shot down in that respect. Police violence is on the rise.
You sound like this is actually all starting.
All right. We're carrying on the same topic. I try not to skip too much, but
Biden's cheat notes shows that they're given they discuss the questions in advance. You know, at least in the views of the establishment, that's
celebrating the fact that Tucker Carlson's gone vocally.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I don't think we should be doing is finding ourselves on the same side as the Defense Department and the Pentagon and massive corporations. If you're doing their dirty work for them, you ain't on the right side. You can't be. When did being anti-war become right-wing? Yeah. How does freedom of speech and supporting Assange become right-wing? It doesn't make sense.
No. When the Department of Defense
topsy-turvy so fast,
celebrating the fact that Tucker Carlson's gone vocally.
I do want to reiterate, that is not a new thing, okay? Right and left switch sides regularly. They have done so many times throughout American history. It just doesn't normally happen so fucking rapidly like it's happening right now. It was such a quick flip.
And it be known that they're pleased that he's gone, where the Pentagon are pleased that Tucker Carlson's gone. It's obviously because he was doing something that they didn't like. And are there any other voices as big as his at the time saying those things? There weren't.
Let us know if you can think of any voices. Say on, like, you know, in the mainstream media, who? Is there anyone at CNN, MSNBC that's willing to come out and be anti-war? The war discourse is being limited, so where's your free press there? A White House correspondents' dinner worth having would go, like, even though we're greatly at odds when it comes to the funding of this war and the continual flow of American taxpayer dollars into Ukraine, who do deserve to be supported from a humanitarian perspective, of course, but a diplomatic solution ought be sought. That's not even being discussed, is it?
No, I mean, you couldn't get a better example recently of the kind of collusion, literal kind of physical collusion between the state and the press in that Jack Teixeira or Teixeira.
He's called Buddy Boy Teixeira.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Buddy Boy Teixeira, the whistleblower. Go on.
Well, the New York Times, as we've kind of spoken about before, they got 12 of their best journalists together to uncover his name and reveal it.
Some kid that was just sharing secrets, not to be a whistleblower, but just because he wanted to seem cool to his friends, as one of the coolest freaking names any whistleblower's ever gotten. Buddy Boy Teixeira, that's cool, bro. I fucking like it. Weird that he gets the cool name.
For setting the FBI to go and actually arrest him.
The New York Times are actually involved in the investigation. No one with Buddy Boy Teixeira, the recent Pentagon Papers whistleblower, no one is correctly covering except organisations like Grey Zone, and we've got
All right, let's move. Hold on, boys. We need to do some rapid fire through this.
Around Snowden, that they were partnering with, like, The Guardian, and then them in.
God, I've not an illegal. Do you think the New York Times would publish that?
Yeah.
Do you think that the God?
Hold on.
Right, but the Greenwald, right-wing fascist Glenn Greenwald, would think the same thing. I mean, obviously for him, going back to the revelations around Snowden, that they were partnering with, like, The Guardian, and then that spread to other publications. Now, would there be a publication that would facilitate them in that way?
Would there? What do you think? Like, if Edward Snowden came forward now and went, oh my God, I've got these revelations, the American government are spying on their citizens in ways that are unconstitutional and illegal, do you think the New York Times would publish that?
Yeah.
Do you think that the Guardian would publish that?
Nope.
No, they wouldn't, would they? I don't think so. Do you think so? I mean, I feel like it would be down to us.
Yeah.
And that's a worrying trend.
Yeah, it is a very worrying trend.
The mad thing is that is actually going on, this section 702, which sounds really boring because it's meant to sound boring.
It does sound boring, Gary. You better say something interesting about 702.
It is about the warrantless surveillance of Americans. So it's all done in that, we're trying to stop terrorists, but it's about collecting, apparently, more than 3 million backdoor searches, which I knew you'd be interested in.
Gareth, I've had personally over 3 million backdoor searches, and I've passed every single one of them.
Every single one of them.
Every one of them, I emerge with flying colours, squeaky clean. And another day, another back day, or so. Like it. Do your belt back up, Mr.
Heads of federal intelligence agencies were not willing to reveal how much data they collect on US citizens.
Surprise,
Expert
surprise.
witnesses were also not able to say how many can conduct the unlawful and warrantless searches. So it's like, not only do they not know how many searches are taking place, but how many people have access to these searches. It's pretty worrying.
So it's a bit like that Pentagon audit. They don't know how many searches they're, like, with the Pentagon failing their audit, last 5 at least, these dudes don't know how much data they're collecting, and they don't know how many people are accessing it. This is your private data. And what about this? The WF calls on leaders to make good use of mass data collection. One of the recent proposals to come out of the World Economic Forum is to develop ways to harvest and monetize satellite data, biological data, you saucy devils, and citizen-generated data. Penned by the MIT Media Lab, the proposal calls for putting all this spuriously collected in the first place data to good use now. So there you go. That's the intersection between a globalist organisation like the WF, a national organisation such as Gareth just described, and even the Five Eyes set up, where now Taiwan are in league with international deep state agencies, presumably in order to spy on citizens, to develop narratives that will be beneficial to the cultivation of war. Now, pretty soon, we're going to head off of YouTube, if that's where you're watching us. You'll find a link in the description where you can flip over onto Rumble, and we'll be talking a little bit about Epstein over there. Plus, we've got Ryan Grimm. I call him Grimmy.
Nice.
Or Grimesy, like in that episode of The Simpsons.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get there, boys. Bloop. 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 Bloop.
Now, but let's look at Joe Biden.
Sorry, I gotta catch it up. I gotta catch it up, boys. I gotta get into the right place. Something like that seems to be around, correct? That's about right. Bloop.
CIA.
It's a good job of the CIA because they've got a lot of power. For example, say Joe Biden needs 50 people to sign a petition saying that the Hunter Biden laptop stories are
some disinformation. Yeah.
Then you probably have to organise that.
Yeah.
When you watch the film Gangs of New York, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, what you realise is that the sort of crucible out of which America and indeed presumably all nations grew is one of corruption and primal interests as expressed through individuals like William Cutting, William the Butcher, played by Daniel Day-Lewis. Whoopsie daisy! I like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Do the milkshake one.
Well, still I drink your milk. I like people that are in that sort of mood.
Right, yeah.
Don't you? People that are intense like that. But can you be around them?
No.
Not for extended periods of time.
Someone saying, I drink your milkshake. Oh, mate, I'm actually getting a bit unnerved by you now.
Yeah.
I wonder, why did Epstein have so many friends? Was he charismatic as hell? I mean, he looks nice,
He's
doesn't it?
got to be charismatic
He could
as
facilitate
fuck, bro.
liaison.
You just hear the story of how he came up and the way he got tied into things. Like, it doesn't make sense other than that, like, listening to him talk must have been like getting a blowjob. Like, it's crazy. He might have also actually given out some blowjobs. Like, I don't know, man. It's ridiculous what he was able to weasel his way into.
With extremely attractive women.
I
Potentially
guess
non-consensual, potentially underage.
Ultimately, it's power, isn't it, in whatever form that is.
Sweet lady power, doing her damnedest.
Yeah.
Catherine Rumler, a White House counsel under Barack Obama, had dozens of meetings with Epstein over the years after a White House service before she became top lawyer at Goldman Sachs. What was his actual job, though, Epstein? Like, where's the money coming from? Is it like he's also... What, has he got an ice cream van?
Yeah,
like, what's he doing? Like, what's his actual job? Leon Botstein, president of Bard College, invited Epstein, who brought a group of young female to the campus. Noam Chomsky, right, we're going to give Chomsky a pass. What was Chomsky doing? Chomsky can't have been interested in that.
No.
To fly with Epstein to have dinner at Epstein's Manhattan Tower. I suppose not everyone's...
No. Well, look, Chomsky was teaching at MIT and Epstein was donating lots of money to MIT. So, that's the way the world works, isn't it? Is you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
I don't want my back scratched.
I know.
If my back's itching, I'll do it myself. Oh, is it because you can't reach bits of your own back? Well, just be like Baloo, out of Jungle Book, go up against a tree.
Yeah.
I'd rather than that, rather than go down Jeffrey Epstein's house.
You should tell Chomsky that next time you talk to him.
Chomsky, I've got an idea. Next time your back's itchy...
Yes, Russell.
Russell, it's actually not that practical to rub your back against a pineapple tree on a prickly pawpaw. So if you look under the rocks and plants and steal a glance at those fancy ants and maybe try a few, that's right, but the bare necessities of life will come to you. Chomsky, you're not making it any easier to listen to you by talking all the time like that, as if what you're saying is not actually that interesting when you're revealing vital information. Chomsky and Can't You See are actually two of the only people that are willing to criticise the war.
Right.
So what is Chomsky then? Is he anti-vax or right-wing? Let us know in the chat, because I don't know how to discredit Chomsky except for maybe that dinner. But I'm hoping, what did he go? He went, what was it for?
It was because there was funding, that Epstein was giving funding to MIT.
So where's Epstein getting all this funding? We need to talk
I guess he was just
like
a businessman, wasn't he?
Who's that lady we talked to? Whitney Houston.
Whitney Webb.
Whitney Webb. Because Whitney Houston...
No, she's not alive, and I don't know how good she'd be on it.
Whitney Houston believed the children were the future. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein believed children were the present. That's the problem, wasn't it? Right. Wait, Jeff! Jeff! Give it 10 years!
It's a good joke.
Good joke. We're on Rumble. You're allowed to do stuff like that. Yeah, it's Zashx 313X. Disgraceful shitbag. But talking about Epstein.
Oh, not you.
No. I once saw someone say about Fred West, who was a mass murderer in our country. He was well out of order. That's what I said.
Yeah.
But that's worse than well out of order.
Yeah.
To actually murder people and bury them under your patio. Yeah. That's what he done.
Probably some of the stuff he did was just out of order.
Right, yeah, like, what do you mean, like bad, reckless driving?
Yeah, or putting the bins in the wrong place or whatever,
Probably because the patio was uneven.
Right. There you go.
Farting in the car.
Things like that.
Car farter. Car farter. All right, so that's what Epstein's been up to.
Yeah, I guess all this does is just back up the fact that he had access to very, very important people, and that maybe that could have been the reason for why he died in that jail.
Right, yeah, I agree, mate. Could be. Hold on.
Allegedly.
Like even
now you use allegedly.
Yeah, that's
After
right.
all of that.
Excuse me, that's allegedly.
Allegedly.
Why don't you grow up?
Right, sorry.
Allegedly.
Oh no, is he meeting? Is that him meeting? He's meeting the Pope now. Someone on our chat just said he met the Pope.
He's got a good booker, hasn't he?
Bloody hell, yeah. Whoever booked Epstein's bookings, can we get him to work here? We finally get Jim Carrey on.
Like I said, man, that guy got around.
No,
boy.
I'm not saying Jim Carrey went to... I'm just saying, no, I'm not, Jim Carrey's clean. I'm just saying he would be a good guest.
Yes,
I'm saying that is a good booker if you put aside the nonsense for a moment. So a good White House dinner will be talking about proper stuff. They'll be talking about the war and anti-war. They'll be talking about the Five Eyes gear. They'll be talking about Epstein's gift. There he is, the Holy Father, giving Epstein and Ghislaine, if that's her name, Maxwell, the same...
Ghislaine, if that's her name?
Oh, that's the old one. Luckily, it's not my favourite Pope.
No.
I like New Pope, don't you? That one, that's the Pope when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah. Yesteryear.
Yeah, that's the Pope of yesteryear. He's a very sort of cloud-like individual, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's too much. All right, and also that's my problem with the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That they're citing Jefferson.
You gotta really wonder too, man. Like given the rumors, about the Catholic Church and what pastors, preachers, whatever, and bishops do in the Catholic Church. And then what Jeffrey Epstein is known for. And then him meeting up with the Pope. Oh boy, you gotta wonder. Ugh. Sickening thought, man. Give you chills.
Saying that, if you had to choose between government and press, you should take the press. But that's on the basis that the press are
actually
intrepid and
free.
bold and willing to report on all manner of stuff. Listen, we've got a fantastic show. I hope you enjoyed that. Well, I don't know if you enjoyed the Epstein stuff. It sort of makes me feel sick and anxious. It's an awful, disgusting story of exploitation, corruption, and also it sort of alludes to a level of deep state power that's sort of terrifying. Yeah, I hear you, babe. Some people saying that's Illuminati shit. They're saying
some Illuminati shit, boy, right
where
there.
we're going to go in a minute, right? Is we're going to do
real fucking southern with that one.
We're going to do a presentation. Here's the news. What's it about today, Gal?
Today it's about rigged voting, or apparently those pesky little machines that, depending what party you're in...
You're not saying Dominion machines don't work, because that's pricey, mate, that.
Yeah.
I'd like to go on record as saying, them Dominion vote machines, I've done a vote in one once.
Oh, did you?
My vote come out squeaky clean.
Did it? Who did you vote for?
Don't know, lady one.
Right,
I vote for a lady one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not about that, actually. What we're saying is that the Democrat Party, who are, like, super excited and all stiff as boards and, like, doing sort of spattery little poops down their knickknacks on account of...
What the fuck are you saying, bro? Jesus.
They themselves are always banging on about how bad voting machines are. We've got, like, videos of it. It's amazing. The Democrats are willing to say that voting machines don't work when it suits them, because no one's got any values, no one's got any principles, no one cares.
Principles.
Well, I'm not saying no one cares about you, loads of people in your own life, but no one in the political establishment cares about you. We need a new orthodoxy. We need an awakening. You're right, Lady Midnight. No one has a memory. You've got to join us on this chat over here. Some of the conversation. Sorry about that little burp there. Sorry about that. We wait till I've got this called.
We'll move on.
Should you use that? Should we use that? That's the graphic, or with that musical sting. This is musical sting B. And this is we use that. That's the graphic, or with that musical like lightning, as if it was the Big Breakfast TV show from the 90s in the UK. See him there? Look at that lovely little dog.
Isn't that cute? Look at that boy. That's a good boy.
We'll judge the graphics before, because I want you lot to choose which graphic, because we've got a graphic for the item and everything. Oh look, there's this one. Right, show. Can we hear the musical sting A? Should you use that? Should we use that? That's the graphic, or with that musical sting. This is musical sting B. And this is the one that young Jack, who works here, did before we intervened and told him to start having some references to his work rather than just creating mad, random... He's deleted it. He's like a proper artist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't like it, do you? Well, that's it then. Gone. Just deleted it away. That's petulant, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should dock him to
actually
wages,
petulant.
should we? Tribunal? Have a look at him through the window. Defrost.
That's his tribunal.
Defrost. There he is. There. Why did you delete it for? That's petulance. Look at him. He's a petulant little sod, isn't he?
Maybe he was just ashamed.
Oh, it's shame.
Is it shame?
It's shame.
Shame will do that to you, Ross.
Because I've always said to him that his graphics that he makes are not... They don't have a cohesive image system.
Right.
And but that's
What
not
does
a
that
terrible
What does that
attack
mean?
on someone, is it?
No.
Your graphics don't have a cohesive image
Maybe
system.
you could be more encouraging.
Kelly P says he's a cutie.
There you go.
See?
Yeah, you just got to provide him with some, constructive criticism in terms of like how one could do better, rather than just pointing out what is wrong. And how easy it
That's
goes.
encouragement.
We're trying to punish him. Then someone says, just say 2498. He can delete it if he wants. It's his work. Oh, he's paid for it, isn't he?
Let's not get in. I mean, this is.
We're getting bogged down. All right, listen, tell us which ones you want. He's No Lee Fang, says Pride Faults, who's the person who started the objectification of Pride Faults in the first place, actually. Needs a spanking. Oh, my God, it's getting dark on there. Right, listen, bloody hell, you don't belong on Epstein Island. I tell you what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this rigged election for...
Also, I want to say the first one is better.
Brago, then we'll call it the one you want. So have a little vote on there, would you? All right. Here's the news. No, here's the effing news.
No, here's the fucking news.
Pucker is gone, and now we can get on with a proper democracy that functions well, where everyone accepts the results of elections. Particularly now, Fox has had to pay out to those brilliant Dominion machines, because no one else has ever complained about electoral fraud ever before in the history of democracy.
What's with the saturation? This video has some bizarre saturation, bro. It's just, I don't know, it looks old almost.
Oh no, they always do. Both sides.
Oversaturated like a mofo,
Carlson's
boy.
departure has predictably caused celebration in some quarters, grief in others. Let's look at the claim that Tucker Carlson's departure is connected to the ongoing voter fraud stories and the Fox payouts to Dominion, and whether or not democracy is ultimately broken now.
All right, hold on. Oh, there you go.
It's been going on a lot longer than since 2020.
They fired him because of messages that were found during the discovery process. I believe there's material in those private messages that was incredibly ugly. It gave Fox a reason to remove Carlson.
So essentially, Stelter and other mainstream voices are saying that Tucker's departure is connected to Fox's fraudulent claim that the Dominion machines were faulty. Well, let's make sure then that that is not a ubiquitous and perennial lament offered forth by either party in the event they lose. In particular, I've got to say, the Democrats, who have been saying that there are rigged elections, problematic machines, problems with voting systems for a long time now. But who are you going to believe, the mainstream media or your own lying eyes? Let's have a look.
Virginia just stopped using touchscreen computer voting because it's so vulnerable. Right. We need to look at all the voting machines. Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
So you don't like the voting machines? What about the Dominion ones?
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
So you see, in microcosm, democracy means we get a mandate for what we want to do anyway. In the event we lose, we complain about the system. The Republicans do it, and plainly, as you just saw, the Democrats do it. I don't think the Democrat Party are sufficiently different from the Republican Party or the right to be able to complain in this way. Loads of you think they're a lot worse. Loads of you think they're better. I'm telling you, they ain't different enough, and neither party is going to make a significant difference to your life.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
So the legitimacy of elections and the results of elections is something that's been queried for a long time. Here are voices of the Democrat Party in various settings making the exact same claims. My position is different. Whether or not the voting machines work is irrelevant, because whichever party you end up voting for, that party is funded by, lobbied by, ultimately works for globalist, financial, corporate interests, including the military-industrial complex, the financial industry, and the conglomerates that own media companies. And they all work together to ensure that any legislative changes that do take place don't meaningfully impact their ability to profit, and generally do not allow ordinary people to democratically change their own lives.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact 3 companies are controlling this.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
So basically they just say stuff unless they win. Unless they win, they say the problem is the machine. You don't see any more politicians going, listen, we lost fair and square, but ultimately we all love America and we want American people to succeed. So
well, you'll never hear that out of a politician. Not ever in your life, boy. Not ever, 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 ever. Not ever, 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 ever. It's anti-politicians, but that is.
becomes this kind of quibbling around minutiae and technicalities, ultimately because they've got nothing big to offer you anymore. Neither party is going to say, we are going to get this country and we are going to genuinely change it. And how we're going to change it is by empowering you to run your own communities.
Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I need you to wait on something really quick. We have something completely unrelated to look at for a moment. But god damn, it must be. If I had to see this, y'all have to see it too. Read the thing. Do you know what that says? That says, horse keeps hugging pregnant woman when doctor looks at ultrasound. He calls the police. What the fuck? What the fuck? Ah! People made me lose hope in humanity, bro. What's wrong with you people? Jesus. Alright, I'm sorry. Sorry I had to make y'all see that. But god damn, boy.
Only reason to have government at all is to protect you, yes, from potential foreign threats and to protect you from domestic and globalist corporate interests. That's what we're going to do. We're going to ensure that ordinary Americans have real power. We're going to ban lobbying. We're going to ban donations to our party. We're going to ban people in Congress owning stocks and shares in the companies that they regulate. We're going to get money right out of politics so that we can have a genuine, legitimate, democratic system. No one's going to say that. No one's offering it. They just...
Oh, damn. I thought somebody was offering that. I was gonna cast my vote for that motherfucker. I ain't voted in a hot minute.
Just want to quibble about the legitimacy of electoral results that ultimately, if you ask me, don't make any bloody difference anyway.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws.
Oh my god, his voice is so fucking annoying.
Including backdoors.
Backdoors. I think that Dominion needs to look into Ron Wyden. He hates voting machines. Backdoors, they've got bad breath and stinking little dicks.
We know how vulnerable now our systems were. I know the hackathon that took place last year, where virtually every machine was broken into fairly quickly.
Oh my god, all of them, they're all broken. None of them were at Dominion watching this.
I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here at the Capitol, where we brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines.
These are the same people that, after Trump made the claims that the election was rigged, went, "That's impossible! How dare you say that? You, sir, are a disgrace to democracy, and you keep causing insurrections, and your hair's ridiculous, and you're orange, and that's all there really is to discuss." This once again shows you there are no ultimate values or principles. There's just rhetoric attached to achieving the outcomes that they would prefer.
When people will say whatever they want to get the outcome that they want, they are not the people that you want to trust and rely on. Even if what they're aiming for happens to be what you agree with aiming for, how long will that remain true? And what good of a job do you think you're going to be able to do at sorting the bullshit from the fucking truth when you promote and stand behind a bullshitter? If you build a house on a foundation of lies, don't be surprised when it crumbles on top of your fucking head. Alright? That shouldn't need to be said, and yet it does. It does need to be said.
To achieve that are themselves tethered to financial interests that they're personally affected by. Look at all the nepotism, look at all the stock ownership, and look at the way they legislate on the behalf of big business. Let me know in the chat in the comments if you think that the problem is rigged electoral machines or a rigged electoral system.
I'm very concerned that you could have a hack that finally went through. You have 21 states that were hacked into. They didn't find out about it for a year.
It is worth fighting for integrity in our election system, which means that they are free from interference by a hostile or an unfriendly nation.
Like
hate how much she
Russia,
shakes her
for
fucking
example.
head, bro.
No evidence of that at all. Absolutely no evidence. Completely
Annoying.
cooked up media concoction in conjunction with the Democrat Party. Perhaps all of us, if we're honest, recognize that we all tend, if the outcome is favorable to our own self-interest, go, oh yeah, this is a good system. Maybe sometimes do say like, I don't like that person. Oh no, they really like you. I do like that person. We're all capable of that level of fallibility. I'm not saying actually that politicians are uniquely bad. I'm saying they're ordinarily corrupted by a corrupt system, and therefore we should change the system. We're all capable of nepotism. We're all capable of acting in self-interest. I know I'm capable of doing it. Why don't we have systems that bring to the forefront the better aspects of our nature and are reliant on congregation, the collectivism, and true democracy, rather than systems that encourage you to become self-centered, biased, just to argue for outcomes that suit you, to have no principles or values, to change your argument in order to meet the outcome that you want, as in the case of these machines. If the election results go their way, these are some of the best electoral machines we've ever... How dare you...
Look at this. Look at this. What I found. Trua. Trua's on my timeline pretty regularly. Look what she said. You recognize what this is? This is one of those fucking lava burritos where it's only ever frozen in the center or lava hot, like worse than a hot pocket when it comes to that kind of shit. It's got one on a plate and says, anything's a dildo if you're brave enough. Trua, no! Please, stop. Stop, Trua. You can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing this. It's madness, I tell you. Madness!
Criticize those machines. This Dominion voting machine's been like a brother to you. How dare you criticize it? You lost the election, you little son of a bitch, you little Russian racist son of a fuck.
I
Russian
sit on the
racist
Senate
son of a fuck.
Intelligence Committee
God
and Senate
damn.
Homeland Security Committee. And we receive all kinds of information.
I really do fucking hate her. Everything she says is a lie almost every time, dude. She's so disingenuous. It's mind-numbingly awful to watch.
About the vulnerabilities to our national security. We are vulnerable in terms of foreign interference with our elections.
Did you see that? On the road to the White House 2020. So when they're on the way to the White House, oh my God, we could lose. The voting machines, if we do lose, they are terrible voting machines. They could be hacked by, you know, a Russian in a hat with snow in their boots, with cancer, like Putin. Bastard son of bitches. You've won the election. Those are some of the best voting machines. Look at this little guy. I love it. What a reliable voting machine. How can I stay mad at you?
There's a saying that I'm sure many of you have heard, which is the difference between being hacked and not being hacked
Go on.
is knowing you've been hacked.
Yeah, you know. Okay, don't do that joke again. Hillary, how do you feel about voting machines? Do you have a principled perspective on them that will not change depending on whether you win or lose an election? The opinion will stay the same, right?
There are some tax experts in Silicon Valley with whom I have met who say that, you know, maybe what they'll do this next time is to really disrupt the actual election. Shut down the servers that you send results to. Interfere with the operation of voting machines because still too many of them are linked to the internet. So we are still very vulnerable.
Why don't they just accept that some people vote for Donald Trump because they're disillusioned with the political class? And why don't we all accept more broadly that the problem is deeply systemic and is a result of the ability of powerful deep state and corporate interests to manipulate the congressional and democratic process to the point where democracy is sort of a facade?
And it's really annoying that it's so the propagandists are very good at getting ahead of the conversational points about what's wrong, because nobody wants to hear the words deeply systemic because of the connotations given to them by extreme leftists. People either agree or disagree with extreme leftists are going to take that and co-opt it, or just not want to hear it at all, because it has already been preemptively co-opted to align with the idea that of systemic racism. Or systemic issues are not racial. At least 90% not racial. Or systemic issues are centralist. They're pro-centralizing of power and anti the average individual. That is the true nature of our systemic problems.
The actual problem. The actual problem is they can hack the internet. There's hackers. They're only the size of a Lego man. They get
only the size of a Lego man.
The whole system's broken. So after the
they just sneak in through the fucking doggy door.
There's a problem with voting machines. But after the 2020 election, there's no problem with voting machines. What an amazing miracle. After Republican victories in 2000, 2004, and 2016, Democrats in Congress used the formal counting of electoral votes as an opportunity to challenge election results. Derek Muller, a law professor at the University of Iowa, wrote in a New York Times opinion piece in 2021. In January 2001, Representative Maxine Waters joined several other Democrats challenging George W. Bush's victory, claiming Florida's electoral votes were fraudulent. In January 2005, after Bush's re-election, Senator Barbara Boxer formally challenged Ohio's electoral vote, even though Bush won Ohio by more than 118,000 votes. Wait, let's recount that, because what they've done is that 118,000 votes could have been done by a little cyber Lego hacker that gets in the
Cyber
machine. Did you
Lego
see
hacker.
the Lego movie? They're bastards. In January 2017, after Trump's victory, Representative Sheila Jackson-Lee said there was the malfunction of 87 voting machines, and Representative Jim McGovern, Democrat, Massachusetts, said there were confirmed and illegal activities engaged by the government of Russia in the 2016
Confirmed,
election.
he says.
Then as now, each member of Congress was within their rights to make an objection, Mueller wrote. But the objections were naive at best, shameless at worst. Either way, the readiness of members of Congress to disenfranchise millions of Americans was disconcerting. And now there's Stacey Abrams, the Democrat who ran for governor of Georgia, who claims that Brian Kemp, the Republican who beat her 4 years ago, won under the rules of the game at the time, but the game was rigged against the voters of Georgia. Fraudulent electoral votes, malfunctioning voting machines, rigged elections. Sound familiar? Well, yeah, it does actually. It sounds like exactly what's being claimed
The
right now.
same
How is it
rhetoric,
different?
boy.
In September 2022, the Washington Post reported Democrats have spent nearly $19 million across
All right, let's
8
go back
states.
some more.
Is illegal and wrong. Let's give them some money so they can say it more loudly, because I think in the long run it'll pay off, and then we'll be able to benefit from being in Congress and regulate companies that own stocks and shares in. And that's the American way. Strategy is part of modern life. You have to understand strategy to function in the world. So having a strategy where you amplify the voices of people that make claims that the election was fraudulent seems like it could be a good strategy. But if you're simultaneously persecuting Trump for making those same claims and declaring that he oughtn't be able to run as president as a result of making those claims, then your strategy is so sort of contradictory and hypocritical that it's become unmoored from morality. And in the business of government, where you actually hold sway over the lives of ordinary people when it comes to their healthcare, their education, judiciary matters, cultural, military matters, then
But Russell, morality has nothing to do with politics. It never has. At least not in many generations.
morality and values and principles must be the very spine, the skeleton of it. Decent values have to be present.
Should be.
Fallibility is inevitable, but outright hypocrisy is...
Yeah, well, how does the quote go? Something along the lines of the Constitution was made for a just and morally upright citizenry. I think it also included religious, God-fearing, something like that. But anyway, it was made to govern good people. That moment that no longer holds true. The Constitution is useless. And we continue to cave to the morally destitute. When there's no more morality in our politics, what strength does the Constitution have to maintain a righteous government? None. It has none, I would argue. And many others would also argue this.
unacceptable. If Biden really wants to unite the country, which he doesn't, he ought at least try to do the difficult work of reaching out to the other side, which he won't. But that would be risky, since the left wing of his party isn't in any mood for making peace with Republicans, MAGA or otherwise. He talks about MAGA Republicans and how they're a threat to democracy because it's one more weapon in his political arsenal, a way he hopes to win over those crucial swing voters. As a cynical political strategy, it may work.
Alright, let's move on.
You want to live forever, right? Then these 3 letters could be the...
Alright, we're not going to go through his advertising.
What about that bit where you talk about getting old and like it's a really bad thing and then just show a picture of an old man?
That's my favourite bit.
I felt sad for him.
Is he going to be all right, that old guy?
No, probably not.
This is sad. It's like episode 3 of Succession. I can't take it no more, baby! I can't take it no more, baby! Okay, so voting is neck and neck. The voting is so tight in the which one of the graphic sequences do you want for our item this week in history, old news, whatever.
Old news, whatever.
This is the item.
It's this week in history. I mean, it literally says it there.
I see. All right, mate. Okay.
Yeah, call them out, man. Call them out.
M&Ms because you've gone all funny.
I think I took too many.
I think you've had so many M&Ms that you've actually gone unusual.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I had a Tom Jones lookalike appear at my mother's birthday.
Wow. What a collection of words that is.
He was good.
Yeah.
What a collection of words that is.
Like, he was excellent.
When you say appeared at, like, he was meant to be there. He didn't just turn up.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't. That would be an amazing story. I'd be telling that on the Gaia channel if it was that.
Yeah.
Tom Jones came back to life while he was still alive as another him at my mum's birthday.
Yeah.
That'd be a much better, one weirder story. We paid for it.
He's back to
Spice up my
life as
mum's
another him
birthday.
while he was
so
still
I
alive.
went there. But I sent a Tom Jones lookalike, the next best thing.
Of course, yeah. That's what every mother wants.
Tom Jones lookalike named Ian Stott. He's been sending me, like, he writes a lot of, like, quite radical literature about revolution and global conspiracies and religion, and like, it's a bit of an unusual combination of things to do, like, to write books about anti-establishmentism and appear as Tom Jones at my mum's birthday.
All got to have a day job, haven't we?
It's got to do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah,
indeed.
It's not unusual to do that, is it?
What's new? No.
Yeah, how far will we go? Okay, so look, wait a sec.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
it's
Tom Jones is
at least
alive.
a little
That's what I'm
unusual.
saying. Tom Jones is alive. I said he can't come back from the death while simultaneously still being here. Look, no vote. Look, people are saying, mommy, we are not a democracy. Barry John M. Fox, I'm still convinced 2020 was stolen. Oh, Barry John, that's going to cost you $758 million, believe in that. Peace, love, light. It's fascinating where they put their energy. It shows their vulnerabilities. Mummy, again, I'm going to vote for my dog because I'm in Massachusetts and my vote don't count. Oh, unicorn plug. Again, politics is a horse and pony show, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, we're going to go with whoever says one of them
actually prints
next.
this shit out.
You know, one of the, you can either have A, which was the like a Back to the Future sounding one, or B, which is Share. Right, which one do you want? A was first. All right, so we're going, I wanted Share, actually.
Well, I mean, you are in charge.
Yeah, but you got democracy. You got to respect it.
Oh, I see.
And A's winning hands down. Loads of people are saying A.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, bloody democracy. Are we doing this before or after Ryan Grimbo Grimmy?
I think
we're gonna have to do this in. We're gonna have to do it only in locals, guys. You're gonna have to join us in locals. Bring on Ryan Grimmo Grimmy. Ryan Grimmo Grimmy, we got to bring you out. Ryan,
got 5 minutes
we
left.
invited you to a perfectly good White House Correspondents' Dinner, and you disgraced us by brawling, by punching. I believe you were filming someone called Jesse Waters from some other news channel, Foxy, from Foxy Lady. Then I heard, and this is a direct quote, that you kicked him in the dick. Now, is that true, Ryan? The tip of the dick.
This was a while ago. There were a lot of feet and fists flying, so anything's possible.
Caught the tip of
I might
anything
have
that
kicked him in
day,
the
couldn't you? Thank you so much for joining us. What do you think about Biden having the balls, the wrinkled gonads to declare that journalism isn't a crime? What do you think about that with Assange banged up?
I don't think that took balls at all, because I think he knew that nobody would push back in that room against him. So it didn't even take any courage. I bet he didn't even.
You're pointing out the fucking that he had balls to talk about free press in that room. But again, the statements he made about the economy are the thing like takes even more balls. Like, who actually believes he's doing right by the economy, dude? Like, I want to meet somebody who believes this shit.
Register the hypocrisy, as it came out of his lips. I doubt many people in that room even did. That's how far apart they are kind of from the rest of the public on this question.
Ryan, your analysis chimes with ours in that what they do at events like that is they reiterate what the status quo is. They reiterate what the framing for debate is. That when the press that are supposed to hold power to account enter into a consensus that Julian Assange don't even register in your mind when talking about the criminalisation of journalists, that this is precisely the problem we have. The zeitgeist is being determined by banalised institutions that are not interested in democracy, that are not interested in transparency, that are not interested in free speech. That event is pure theatre. No wonder you got your gander up and started kicking people on the tip of the dick. What sort of journalists get invited to White House Correspondents' Dinner, and why? Who gets invited, who don't get invited, Ryan?
I mean, so D.C. is, probably more than most cities in the United States, very, very status obsessed, because it's all about power and politics. And so, getting invited to it is a status symbol. But then on top of that, you needed to then have the best celebrity. This started around kind of the Obama years, that whichever news organization could get Scarlett Johansson or whatever, like, to be at their table, that would be, then they would be one-upping the other ones. And then they would also invite their ad sales folks and also then invite their big clients, like, Dove soap would be there, or like the guy from GM or the guy from Cadillac would be there. And so you've got these news organizations that are, attracting celebrities with the access to the president, and then wooing the ad sales people with access to these celebrities. And it's just a gigantic kind of money-making operation.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels saccharine and theatrical and appalling and ridiculous. And I feel like it cannot go on for much longer. What do you think about the candidacy of RFK and the early surge there? We're going to have him on our show, Ryan. How do you feel? In fact, don't answer that, mate, because we are going to wrap here and head over to Locals. There's a link. You can join us over on Locals right now where we conduct this conversation. Plus, we'll carry out that game as well, the old news game. Ryan, perhaps you'll join us for a little bit of that game where we're going to look at old news and we'll marvel at the way that the news media has altered. Click the red button. You can join us. Remember, I do a festival every year from July the 14th to July the 17th. Community. There's a link in the chat for that as well. People like Vandana Shiva, Wim Hof, Satish Kumar will come, plus Callie Means, who talked about food, like all that food corruption stuff. Tomorrow we've got Max Blumenthal on the show. What are we going to be talking to Max about? There's a really sort of relevant news story that Max was being incredibly vocal about. I remember us being excited.
Yeah, we were going to talk about potentially 9/11 and the new revelations.
9/11 and CIA operatives. I mean, can this even be true? You've got to join us for that. Join us tomorrow on Rumble, not for more of the same, but for more of the different. And join us on Locals with Ryan to play a kinky little game. And you know the kind of games Ryan likes to play when he's out and about, kicking people in the nether regions. So join us right now on Locals with Ryan. So see you tomorrow if you're watching us on Rumble. See you on Locals right now if you're with us. Stay free.
Switch on, switch off, switch in, switch on. Switch off, switch on.
Damn it. I always forget to pause that in time. And that music messes with my VODs. It gets me copyright struck on fucking YouTube. I do not like this, and yet I continue to fall prey to it. Gosh darn it. Clarice. This is not okay. I cannot be doing these kind of things, you know what I'm saying? I cannot be doing these type of things. Eventually I'll get it right. I'll stop fucking this up at some point. But apparently today is not the day. We've got a little bit of time left. So I'm going to try to find some YouTube shit to react to. We got a little bit of time. A little bit of light in my life. What would be good? What would be good? What would be good? Okay, well, I do want to share one thing with you guys. This is something I found yesterday. If you guys are a fan of Hell of a Boss, hell, I got something else for you to check out. Another indie project from a different team, but it looks very promising in a similar-ish kind of style of thing. Check this out. It's called Lackadaisy.
Say, it beats radiator fluid.
What's that aftertaste? Crisp, full-bodied, reminiscent of oak wood. Coffin varnish.
Coffin varnish.
You can call it Sunset Rose Cocktail.
Sunset Rose Cocktail? That sounds good. You have no idea what I went through to get this.
I have very good an idea.
Sassy chick.
Sophisticated flavor.
Brilliant.
Lackadaisy. Coming soon.
March 29th. March? Sir, we are past that date. The pilot is out though. And I think it's a bit of an early release. You can see the drawing lines in some of it. But that said, still very watchable and still a very good episode. I enjoyed watching it. You should check it out. I think the page is Lackadaisy Comic. You just search Lackadaisy on YouTube to find it. Highly recommend. Well, I don't want to say hi. I want to be careful with my words. It's good. It's damn sure good. I do recommend it. I don't necessarily want to say I highly recommend it though. I want to save high recommendation for, a small select group of things. But yes, I definitely still do recommend it. It is very good. Much like. Oh, okay. Asmon's got a thing from when he's going through Reddit. It's about WoW being canceled.
A guy was...
So, we gotta check that out. We're gonna have to check that out for sure, boys.
Sylvanas profile picture complaining about troll genocide in Stranglethorn Vale.
What?
I had to take a moment away from stream because this particular quest in Northern Stranglethorn absolutely threw me. It's like we're talking about culling deer before they strip all the vegetation. Population control. These people are such fucking losers. They're so pathetic.
You tell them, Asmon.
Why is
Pathetic.
it that you can't have genocides in a video game? Why not?
It's a video
I don't
game.
understand. It's a fucking game. It's not real. Why is it? This is like, I hate this. In Dragonfight is...
That's like saying we can't tell dark stories. If you do a documentary about the Holocaust, it's fucked up. You can't do that. It's a story. Whether it did or not did not happen, it's a story. It's being told. Stories need to be allowed to be told. What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
It's the same thing. It's like every animal you're killing in Dragonfight, you're killing them because they're too old. What about killing them because it's fun? Remember that? That was awesome. And now we've got this pussy shit that's being promoted by these pussies. It makes me so goddamn mad.
Yeah,
I hate this shit. And I want to go back to the days where World of Warcraft is about big, hairy, sweaty men beating the shit out of each other.
Hell
and
yeah,
that's
brother.
it. There's nothing else. It's that simple. It was so good, bro.
You tell him, Asmon. You tell him. I'm sorry. But I'm also kind of not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. don't have a lot of good spammable clips available right now. Oh, let's check this out. What to do if your inner voice is cruel.
I think chatter...
Let's check this out.
...is one of the big problems we face as a species. We spend between 1/3 and 1/2 of our waking hours not living in the present. And what do we do during that time? We're talking to ourselves. Your inner voice is your ability to silently use language to reflect on your life.
Indeed.
Chatter refers to the dark side of the inner voice.
Okay.
When we turn our attention inward to make sense of our problems, we don't end up finding solutions. We end up ruminating, worrying, catastrophizing. We get stuck in a negative cycle that takes this remarkable tool that we possess, this inner voice, and it turns it into a curse rather than a blessing.
It can very much be either or, but it takes self-awareness and control in order to make it a blessing. Right? Otherwise, it defaults to being a curse.
My name is Ethan Cross. I'm a professor of psychology and management, and I'm the author of the book Chatter, The Voice in Our Head, Why It Matters, and How to Harness It.
What it is and how to harness it. All right. So we're going to promote your book now, huh?
In terms of whether there's an evolutionary purpose to the inner voice, many scientists believe that language is a tool that helps us navigate the world. And our ability to use language not only to communicate with others, but to communicate with ourselves provides us with a survival advantage. It's incredible.
To contextualize things. You can't contextualize your world in a really thought out way without the usage of the language. Try. You'll fail. I promise.
Problem-solving device. At the most basic end of the spectrum, our inner voice is part of what we call our verbal working memory system. It's a basic feature of the human mind.
I like how we're getting meta about humans, and they're using
our verbal
this
working
meta
memory
imagery
system. It's
this meta set. See this? Because rather than actually use the backdrop for what it is, the entire scene that includes the backdrop is the actual backdrop. It's a meta scene. One that's thoughtfully put together, I'm not gonna lie. I like it.
It's a basic feature of the human mind that helps us keep verbal information active in our heads. Our inner voice also lets us simulate and plan. So before a big presentation, I'll go over in my head what I'm going to say. What are the different talking points that I'm going to run through? I'll hear what questions the audience is going to ask me, and then I'll respond in turn. I'm simulating that exchange, and I'm using my inner voice to help me do that. Our inner voice helps us control ourselves. Think about the last time you may have wanted to reach for a treat late at night, but then you think to yourself, don't do it. You'll regret it in the morning. That's your inner voice. And then finally, the inner voice helps us storify our lives. Many of us turn our attention inward to come up.
Our entire conceptualization. Our entire conceptualization of reality is through the format of story. This is the mechanism by which the main purpose of language is actually utilized. Which again, like I said, that conceptualization aspect. It's not even the outward communication. It's arguable that the outward communication was the initial reason for its invention, but the main purpose it serves is actually the conceptualization. Which again is done through, as you put it, the storyfying of our world. Or the formatting in terms of a story.
With some narrative that explains our experiences in ways that give shape to our understanding of who we are, our identity. So
argue that
sometimes this inner voice can be...
We're not even storifying reality. We're actually, this is our most fundamental way of perceiving reality. Real true perception doesn't happen without cognitive processing. What you're really doing is taking your imperfect physical modes of perception and creating a more accurate perception through this quote unquote storifying process. Because in reality is, in truth, reality is a story. Wrapping your head around that one's a bit tough, though.
Incredible
think about it.
Source of help. But at other times, it can really sink us. First, it makes it incredibly hard for us to focus. Chatter consumes our attention. Chatter can also create friction in your relationships because you're talking about your problems over and over again and not being a great listener to others. It can also make us more irritable and lead to something called displaced aggression. Finally, we know that chatter can have severe negative physical health effects. You've probably heard that stress kills. That's not exactly true. A stress response is a really adaptive response. What makes stress toxic is when it remains chronically elevated over time.
Yes.
This is precisely what chatter...
This is supposed to be a very temporary state of being stressed constantly for a very long time. It's like not stop. It's like if you didn't stop running. Running is good for you, but if you never didn't run, so you never stopped running, eventually your body's gonna break down and you're gonna die. Same thing with stress.
Chatter does. We experience a stressor in our life, it then ends, but in our minds, our chatter perpetuates it. We keep thinking about that event over and over and over again. And that keeps that stress response active in ways that can predict things like cardiovascular disease, chronic inflammation, and even cancer. It's hard to overstate how negative the implications of chatter can be. The good news is there is a science-based toolkit that you can use to regain control of your inner voice.
Oh yeah.
There are things
I like actual answers, actual solutions to things. Let's talk solutions. I'm fucking about this.
We can do on our own, ways of harnessing our relationships with other people, and even ways of interacting with physical environments. One really great example of these tools are rituals.
Rituals?
We love having control. When you experience chatter, you often feel like your thoughts are in control of you. One of the things that we've learned through science is that we can compensate for this feeling out of control by creating order around us. Rituals are one way to do that. A ritual is an ordered sequence of behaviors that you rigidly perform the same way each time. By engaging in the same sequence of behaviors every time the same way, that's giving you a sense of order and control that can feel really good when you're mired in chatter. The tennis great Rafael Nadal, he said the hardest thing that he struggles to do on the tennis court is manage the voices inside his head. He engages in rituals. During breaks between play, he goes over to his bench. First, he takes a sip out of one water bottle, then he takes a sip out of another. Then he puts each water bottle back exactly where he picked them up from, on a diagonal to the court. It's a ritual he does to manage his chatter. There are no individual tools that work for all people in all situations to help manage your chatter. Instead, the real challenge is to figure out what are the unique combinations of tools that work best for you.
Well, once you try it, this is the beautiful thing about this. I'm very familiar with this concept. This is the beautiful thing about this too. Once you start trying to do this, become aware that this is useful, you start trying to do it. the rituals develop themselves very easily and very naturally. You don't have to work that hard at figuring it out, unless you're overthinking it, which I would just say, stop overthinking it. Which I know, not always that easy, but it is what you have to do, and you can, with a little bit of consistent effort. This is a very good way of regaining control of yourself. As you do things physically and exercise your actual ability to control your physical environment to even small degrees, it echoes into much greater levels of control over your internal environment.
Are you weaker for experiencing chatter? Absolutely not. You are human for experiencing chatter, so welcome to the human condition.
Get smarter, faster with videos from the world's biggest thinkers.
Hey,
to learn even more from the world's biggest thinkers.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that. I like that. All right. That's it. Boom. I've got big mode again, boys. My fat ass head's take up the whole screen again. So, we had some fun. We looked at some things. We talked about all kinds of different stuff. I got y'all up to date on all the news that matters. Well, not all of it. There's just so many things out there that matter. But a good chunk of it. A good chunk of what matters. What's going on in the world that you should care about. We had some laughs. And I damn near cried at one point. And it was a good day. It was a good journey. But, as I have other commitments in my day that I must address, it is now about that time that I bring this all to a close. So I thank you for your time and attention hanging out with me. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day. I hope that life is the journey you need it to be. So until next time, I'm out this bitch. Peace.